Hi guys, welcome. This is Rob and Uma with our monthly Spirit Discussions chat. I'm going to give it a
Hello,
couple
everybody.
of I'm going to give it a couple of minutes, let everybody get on in. Oh, there we go. I got it. We're live.
Oh, we're live.
I love that.
Oh, multiple cameras showing me live. I love it.
All right. So welcome guys. Come on in.
Welcome. Gonna have fun tonight.
Yeah, we are. I'm going to tag you and say Rob
Is live.
and I are live. All right, so
Welcome.
I know people are like slowly coming in.
Yeah. They all have busy lives.
Oh, you know what? Oh, I need my computer. Do you have your computer? I forgot to on Meetup to tell people how to get over here.
Oh.
Yeah, because there were people that signed up on Meetup.
Well, that's not any good.
I know.
If people don't know, it's kind of like mailing a letter and they don't have the address.
That's pretty much what's happening right now.
Oh, okay. Well, that
Spirit
makes more
discussions.
sense.
Okay. So.
And since I'm not a techie, do they have to like us on Facebook in order to do the live?
I think so.
Oh, wow. Well, there's a plus. They have to like us.
Well, there you go.
I think that even though I'm going to see the eye doctor tomorrow, I think I'm going to buy a television with a larger screen that I can put behind yours so that I can actually see it.
No.
Why not? That way I can see what's going on instead of this little screen over here.
Right now. So Rob, while we're waiting, as people are coming in, why don't you talk a little bit about the healing frequency and what you do in Warrington?
Oh, okay. I can do that. The healing frequency, we really, truly, aside from energy work, energy balancing, dealing with entity removal, and all that good stuff, really why people come. And my largest clientele is my 5-week challenge. Your path, your journey. It's all about learning what makes you zig when you want to zag, or why the tail is wagging the dog. We actually go into our emotional intelligence, limiting beliefs. We go in and find out how they're holding us back. So much of the time, we really are navigating this world as adults. We're navigating it based upon a child's beliefs. And so what we do is we actually go in and we free the child, the inner child up, so that we can view each day with a new lens. And I give people a lot of tools in order to navigate the world today. We typically are really, everything is about understanding that, and I've taken this from Erickson University, so I've got to give them a plug out, but everything is about trying to keep ourselves safe. And it's all based upon the cumulative knowledge that we have received within our life. And typically it goes back to being a child. Hello, everybody that's coming in right now. I'm talking a little bit about my 5-week challenge, your path, your journey, knowing why you're zigging when you want to zag, going into emotional intelligence, limiting beliefs. And it's a combination of life coaching, energy work, and a lot of homework to illuminate everything that's going on in your life. So much of the time we go through life and things happen to us and we sweep it underneath the rug. And we're sweeping it underneath the rug because we don't know how to handle it. We don't know what to do with it. We sweep it underneath the rug and we continue on. And eventually we go through and something else happens, we sweep it underneath the rug. Something else happens, we sweep it underneath the rug. And then finally one day we trip over the rug. And when we trip over the rug, we actually lift it up and we look underneath and we're like, oh no, and we tap it back down. We tap it down, we continue on, and then later on in life, we find that we trip over the rug. So the 5-week challenge is all about going into these things that are underneath, that are actually helping us navigate, but everything is still in the lens of a younger person. So what we do is we go back, we explore it, we let it go, and then we actually move on. But the trick is it will take a while to get rid of everything from the past. So if we can actually set you up so that you actually don't have to sweep anything underneath the rug, we can actually start to grow. So that's my 5-week challenge in a nutshell, and I see all sorts of people coming on right now. Hello, everybody. I was just talking about my 5-week challenge, Your Path, Your Journey, and I'm kicking it back to them.
Hi, guys. So I messed up. I'm so sorry, because we were like, I taught Access Bars today, so then I ran home. Rob was here taking care of everything, and then I forgot to go on Meetup and tell people what page. So I can't use my computer right now because we're live, so I hope everybody...
But I got the beautiful chance to actually heat up her mom's chicken curry. And well, Nathan helped me.
Nathan, my child did it.
Yeah.
So, all right, but we're, 7:08. We're not going to wait much longer. We're jumping in and talking about love and relationships from a spiritual perspective. And it's about to get real intimate up in here. And what I'm going to tell you guys is, first of all, Rob and I did not plan any part of this talk. We wanted it to be as natural and organic as possible. And we just want to share our viewpoints. We both are spiritual teachers in the area. You guys know us as that. And we are in what some would say a twin flame relationship. And I say that because I'm going to talk about that in a second. Twin flames, soulmates, all that kind of good stuff. So a lot of times we get couples wanting us to work with them and talk to them about how to maintain a spiritual relationship, how to have a relationship with intimacy. It's not a hidden fact that Rob and I are both tantric and we practice Tantra. So we're here to just, kick it out and talk to you guys and share in all honesty and truth and vulnerability, because what we want to do is help you guys. So we love our relationship. We love how it works. We love all the good things about it. And I know that a lot of people have come up to me and say, I want to meet a man like Rob, or guys have said, I want to meet a girl like you, Uma. And I'm like, okay, but there's tons of Robs and Umas around. Mm-hmm. Like, you just got to know what you're looking for. And that's what the point of this discussion is. And I think a lot of our viewpoints we're going to share might rattle some people, because it's not about this like big, passionate, like Brad and Angelina Jolie in the field. It's not like that at all.
Didn't they break up?
Yeah.
Oh, imagine that.
They didn't last. Did
he go back to Jennifer?
No, I don't think so.
Darn.
I don't read the tabloids.
Okay. Well, I'm going to check myself out. I'm done.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about love and relationships, and then we're going to kick it over to you guys. And if you have questions, please share your questions. I know some of you are single. Some of you are in complicated relationships. Some of you are in marriages or in relationships. So it's nice when we all join in and we talk about this and just share from our heart, okay? Nobody's here to judge. Nobody's here to point fingers. We're just all here to learn. Does that sound good? And we need feedback, guys, because it's so awkward. So awkward. Sitting here, looking at ourselves as we do this talk.
So please, let's open up the floor. What do y'all have any questions?
Raju does, and that's what he says. How do you allow the roller coaster of dating continue, even if in hindsight you know the person or persons are here just for a season, and sometimes not for a reason or life, just really for a season? And how do you protect your energies and keep your field clean from body, mind to spirit? Can I answer that one?
Go right ahead. I've got my spin on it too.
Right. So what you're going to find is Rob is really good when it comes to answering questions about monogamy and being in long relationships. His marriage had lasted about 20 years, right?
Yeah, a couple more.
20 or something years. And I am really good at answering the jumping about, because I've been in Rob doesn't like to hear this. I've been in over 30 relationships. So Raju, I will answer that for you. One of the things that I cultivated in my life is an attitude of gratitude. And what I did was, when I left my country, which is Guyana, South America, there was a lot of poverty. It's a third world country. I mean, we were underneath Haiti, and Haiti is like poverty stricken. So there was a lot going on in my country. And when we left, my family and I left, and we came to America, I took upon myself this attitude of gratitude. And I said, no matter what happens in my life, I'm just going to be so happy, because I made it out, and I was able to make it out and make a life for myself. So what I do is, when I get in a relationship, I enjoy it for what it is. So what that means is like, when I'm in a relationship, I completely throw myself all in, heart in, soul in, mind in, body in. Mm-hmm. I throw it all into the relationship. When it ends, I give myself the appropriate time to mourn, because nobody likes endings. Like, let's be clear about that. It's hurtful, it's painful, especially when you have a lot riding on it. Nobody likes it. But then I allow myself to be happy being single. And that's what a lot of people don't do. So when I'm single, I roll around on my king size bed and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this bed all to myself. And then when it's Friday night, I don't stay there saying, oh, I wish I had somebody here. I say, I'm going out with the girls. We're going out. It's girls' night out, you know? And then Saturday, oh, I can sleep in. I don't have to do what I need to do with a significant other. So Raju, what you do is you just learn to enjoy it as it is. I had a friend, and we both were like serial daters, is what they call this. She was probably in a lot of relationships as well. And she had the theory that I don't invest my time, my money, my energy in a relationship because, you know, you never know where it's going. So every time we had breakups, she would be just fine. She'd go back to work or plan a trip to Switzerland, and we'd go, like, you know, we would just kind of keep it moving. But with me, when it ended, there was ice cream and a day of crying and, you know, like wearing sweats around the house and vowing to never date another man again. And she would always say to me, like, Uma, you get so dramatic about this. And, you know, she's like, you allow yourself to get so dramatic about it. And that's why I would never invest my heart in these relationships until I'm married. And I said, but you know what? I will take this heartbreak and this pain, because the act of loving someone and really allowing myself to be in that relationship in all vulnerability and authenticity, it was so worth it to be alive. And I know for some of you, you might be like, what? Yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it to be alive and to, hi Fiona. It was so worth it to just be involved. And every single person I got involved with, I'm like, this is my soulmate. This is it. This is the one. And then my friends would be like all doubting me all the time. And I didn't care, because I loved each and every single one of my past boyfriends, for, you know, differently for what they brought to my life. Same thing with Rob. He'll talk in a second about this.
Maybe.
And, you know, it's just being in that moment. So Raju, for you, I would say you go into every single relationship, you give it your all. You do. You don't hold back nothing. You give it your all. And then if it doesn't work out because spirit deems this is not for you, this is not the one for you, you do your breakup thing. You cry, you eat Haagen-Dazs ice cream, you know, you hang around the house, you don't shower for a day or two. Like, you do what you need to do. But then at some point, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off again, and you get on the horse and you go again. So, you want to add to that?
Wow, I've got to follow that?
I have wine, by the way. So.
Oh, she's got wine. So, a lot of times people will come to me, and Uma has come to me for years and said, would you counsel this couple? And I'm like, no, it's about the individual.
Yeah.
It is all about the individual. So, while you're out there and you're dating and you're learning, this is the thing, you're learning. You are actually in a relationship. You're in a relationship and you're learning. You're not just learning about other people. You're really learning about yourself. You only have control over yourself and over your own actions and reactions. So while you're out there meeting and greeting people, I had a professor that once said, life is nothing more than learning how to meet and greet and gracefully say goodbye. If you get hung up on any one part of this, you are, I don't know if I can say that.
You can't say that.
I can't say that? Okay. So we know that if you get hung up on any one part of this, everything, you know, as Uma said that she's been in I'm not even going to repeat that. But I have been in a long-term relationship. Everything is learning about meeting and greeting and gracefully saying goodbye. If you get hung up on this, you're not going to be here. The truth is we need to be here within ourselves. We have to be authentic. But when I use the word authentic, it does not give you a license to be rude. It means you have to look at everybody else's feelings around you, own your own, and be authentic to yourself while understanding, just like within my boundaries, which Raj has come to, we have to inform with consequences, and then see the consequences. But there's a fourth step. Everything that we're doing affects somebody else. And unless we understand that, we're doing wrong. And we have to actually understand that people, when they're put in a corner, they're going to bite. And as much as I'm going to go out on a limb right now, so careful. So as I've heard of women going out on 101 dates.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to bring the masculine in here for a second. So everybody calm down for a second. It's going to be okay. It's not stereotypically correct for a man to have 101 dates. It has been written for women now taking their power, but we always get the bad side of that.
Well, not necessarily. Because for many centuries, it's been okay for men to sleep around.
It has.
And it's a notch on their belt.
Exactly.
But for women, what are the words that come with a women who sleep around? And you guys can type them in, because I have children, so I'm not going to say it out loud, but type it in. What are the words we call women who sleep around?
But exactly, and we're going to have fun now, guys. You got us started. Or maybe I did. But anyhow, the fact is that men, if we're doing 101 dates, we're automatically accused of sleeping around, not learning who everybody is and what it is about ourselves. So what I've seen in the recent days is that dating 101 people, it's about learning yourself. And yes, women are so much better about learning themselves than men and not carrying it to the next level and moving out. But we need to start looking at what it is that makes us happy, what it is that doesn't make us happy, and understand that if somebody is only here for this time, it doesn't take away from the genuine effort and the love that you shared with them, and it can continue on. We just have to understand we don't quite need to be that close or intimate anymore.
Yeah. And I think men have a better understanding of that than women, because like I know for me with my girlfriends, a lot of us just throw ourselves in there, and men tend to be a little bit more cautious about their heart and, you know, not want to share until they feel like comfortable and things. And women are just like, from the second date, when are we moving in? I'm gonna get that wedding dress. Like, let's do this, right? We're calling our friends. I met the one. We're going to Hawaii. We're getting married. And I love it, guys. I got to tell you, I love being in love. And I've told Rob this before. We were friends before we got together. And Rob knows about my dating lifestyle. He knows about the crazy shenanigans I got into because he was right there as I was getting into craziness. I love dating. And for those of you that are single watching this, enjoy. Oh my gosh, enjoy. Like, I'm not saying I would ever want to go back to dating right now because I'm with the one that I'm in completely in love with. Good answer. But what I will say is that when it was time to date, it was fun. I was doing it all. If you want like questions on single people, you know, hit me up with your questions. Those of you that are now joining in, please feel free to hit us with your questions on love and relationships. We're just talking until we get some questions coming our way. But one thing I'm going to tell you guys is I am writing that book, Love Redefined, A Guide to Spiritual Relationships. Let's talk a minute while people are formulating their questions or whatnot. Let's talk a minute about twin flames, soulmates, twin souls, all that kind of stuff. Rob and I have been identified as twin flames. We didn't call ourselves twin flames. In fact, my ex, who I was with for a long time, he was also called my twin flame. When people would meet us, because he would, you know, he would visit me from Florida, and when he was here, people would say, oh, the energy between you two and the passion and the excitement. And it was very all that craziness, but there was a lot of drama, that Rob was there to witness. And people would say, he's your twin flame. And I'm like, what is this twin flame stuff? I didn't understand it. So I read up about twin flames, as most of you probably have, and I got sucked in, right? Like most of you probably have.
Not me.
Right.
But I'm a guy.
There's guys that get sucked into
Okay.
twin flame relationships.
Well-
So I got sucked in, and then I started believing this was my twin flame because one, he was Virgo, I was Capricorn. We both were earth signs. When you look at our planets on our natal chart, we actually had all our planets in the same quadrants. We were like the same person. We both are life path 9, my ex and I. So there was a lot of similarities there. So I stayed in that relationship. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear this. I stayed in that relationship, even though it was terrible, because I thought he was my twin flame. And that's my big issue with these titles, because once we assign the title of soulmate, twin flame, whatever, it almost gives people a pass to behave badly and to still stay in it. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I agree with, if you were nice to me, I am nice to you. If you respect me, I respect you. If you love me, I love, like, I believe in reciprocity. So after a while, that ended. I got out of it. And I remember I was done. I was done. I actually called my psychic. I have a psychic I get readings from. And I asked her, I said, hey, am I ever going to meet somebody again? Because at this point, I had, like I said, I've been in over 30 relationships. I didn't care anymore. I'm like, I got kids. I can like live a full life having Lotus Wellness Center and having my kids. And I'm like, am I done? Like, is that it? And she's like, no, you have a twin flame soulmate person that's coming into, I'm like, here we go again with this nonsense. And I said, listen, I don't care what he is. Just once he's decent, he's kind, and he's nice. That's all I want at this point, you know? And you know what was funny?
You
Rob
set
was,
yourself up.
right. And you know what was funny? Rob was my friend at that time, and he was calling me on the phone while I was with my psychic. And she was telling me, she's like, it's somebody that you know, somebody that you've never dated. And I'm like, who? And I saw Rob calling, and I was like, oh, I'll just call him back. And I'm like, no, I don't know who you're talking about. And it was Rob. So one of the things is yeah, the whole story of me and Rob is quite interesting in of itself. But what I will say this is, whether we're twin flames or not, I don't know. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. But one thing I do know is that I'm happy here because my needs are getting met. And that's what I want to pose to you guys. You don't have to answer out loud, but whether you're in a relationship or not, if you're not in a relationship, the last relationship you were in, think about it for a second. Were your needs getting met?
I need to hop in here real quick, because everything to me comes back to the person, the individual. Do you know what your needs are? Do you know what your core values are? And if you haven't identified them, then they're going to be all over the place. How can anybody meet them? And this is why I am so strong on doing your self-work and learning about yourself. And when you actually know what your needs are and what your core values are, you can actually pose them to somebody else. You can say, hey, here's where I'm at. Now, when you pose it to somebody else, it doesn't mean that they actually have to oblige. It means they actually understand. They understand, and they can either step up and say, oh, I understand, or they can actually move on. And so much of the time we don't actually say, hey, here's what our needs are and here's where I'd like to be, because we are so fearful of people leaving. The reason why we do not set healthy boundaries is fear, obligation, and guilt. Fear of somebody doing something, fear of loss, obligation, completely feeling overwhelmed, or guilt. How many of us have actually been controlled by guilt in our life, by obligations or fear? I'm kicking it back to you now.
So at this point, do you guys have questions on anything love, relationships related, or even not? If you have other questions as well, this is our once a month spiritual discussions with you guys, and we look forward to it so much, coming and hanging out with you guys. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type in now. The last thing I see on my thread is Raju saying, ha. Hi, Katrina. Hi, Pamela. Thank you guys for joining us and supporting us.
Thanks for coming in.
Chris has 2 questions. Okay, number 1, how do you start a new relationship with spirituality in mind? And number 2, how do you bring more spirituality in an existing relationship, or does it stay as an individual thing? Do you want to answer 1 or 2, or do you want me to answer?
I can answer this real quick.
Okay.
If you're looking for somebody else to fulfill your needs, you haven't fulfilled your own, and you haven't gone into what your true needs are. And I also want to say, if you go to Dr. Wayne Dyer, he will say, stay in your sandbox. Stay in your sandbox. So much of the time, I have people, I'm sure Uma has as well, they're on the spiritual path. And they come in and say, they're not on the spiritual path. Do I leave them? And I always come back to, what about the guy that plays golf every Saturday or Sunday? Does the wife actually leave? Or does the wife actually say, hey, this is something that makes them complete and makes them whole, and can we actually find a time where we can come together? It's all about coming together. We are not meant to blend to the point where there's no entity of each other, where it's all one. What was it called? Jolena and Brad?
And Brad and Angelina.
In Access Bars, Dane will talk about the fact that, you get into a car and you start cutting off your limbs in order to support somebody else and what they want in life. But the fact is, these people were attracted to you for who you were and who you are. It doesn't mean that they have to follow. It means that they like you for who you are and who you're being, and it complements them. It doesn't mean they have to suddenly blend completely with you. I mean, where's the fun in that? I mean, you're just talking to yourself. Go ahead.
So a little bit like similar to what Rob's saying, and I have a little bit of a different twist, Chris. For me, so I was divorced when I started on my spiritual path. Like many people who get on their spiritual path, they start looking at their relationship and saying, is this for me? Is this not for me? And for me in particular, it was not for me. Now, I want to start by saying that my ex is a wonderful guy. Like there's nothing wrong. He's a wonderful guy. But the reasons we got married were not necessarily for the right reasons. And we both admit that to each other. I was pregnant and we wanted to do the right thing. We were later on in age, we were in our 30s. So we're like, let's just get married. It was like, like that progression, like that's what we do. So that's what we did. And we didn't really make it together as a couple, but we stayed friends. And he's a great dad to our kids. I'm a great mom to our kids. And we've just kind of figured out that we came together for the sake of our kids. So that was my reason for leaving. Now, I do get, like as Rob said, a lot of people that start their spiritual path and they come to me, and I would say maybe about 9 out of 10 people that come to me that are in relationships are wondering, should I leave the relationship? And this is what I tell people. If your relationship is blocking you, like literally blocking you from progressing on your spiritual path, then yeah, by any means necessary, leave, because it's about you and spirit. At the end of the day, my mom has this saying, you came into this world alone, you're going to leave alone. And what that means is even though you can love somebody to pieces, they can't go where you're going for the next trip, for the next journey. They can't go with you. You're going there by yourself. So if you have found your spiritual path, and it's precious, as you guys know, it's so precious to us. And if your significant other is blocking you from it, no, you can't go to this meditation. No, you can't do tarot cards. No, you can't sit with the divine, whatever that means. Mm-hmm. And if it's really bugging you, then yeah, get out of it. Mm-hmm. But if they don't have a problem, hang in there. Okay. Hang in there. One of the things Rob has said to me that I really love, because we have such different perspectives on love and relationships. Rob is, like I said, he's been in monogamous relationships for over 2 decades. I have been
God, that makes me sound old.
in several relationships over 3 decades, right? It's like several relationships. So we have different perspectives and different interesting things, but we're still together. We're not the same person. And one of the things he told me that I really loved, because when we got together, I said to him, I said, Rob, I really feel I can do this. I really feel with you, I can be with one person for the rest of my life. Now, I've never had that feeling before in my life. I'm used to jumping from person to person to person. Like I'm in it, I'm having fun. And then when the fun's done, I'm out. Uma's gone, And I'm like, that's just the way I live my life. And with Rob, I just had such a comfort and a love and a knowing. And like, I remember that one day we talked for 8 hours on the phone, and it wasn't just sitting there. It was, we were really having conversation, and not lovey-dovey stuff. Like it was just conversations. And I'm like, oh man, this guy is really cool.
We did that on the way to Atlanta to teach as well.
Yeah. And it's just like amazing. So I told him, I said, Rob, I can really see myself doing this. Like I can see myself being with you, living together, getting married, all that stuff. And I'm like, but I have fear. And my fear is I'm going to get bored of you, right? And it was a real fear for me, guys, because I've never sat still in a relationship. My longest relationship was 5 years. So you know what he told me? And this I'll never forget. And I hope it touches one of you or some of you on here. he said when he was married, he had met a little old lady. Do you remember this conversation?
I do. I remember this.
And
I was there.
And he said that
I was in a college bar.
Right. So this was a long time ago. And he
easy now. Easy. Come on now.
And he said that she told him the secret to having a long relationship, a long marriage, is that you will never be in love with this person all the time. You're going to fight. You're going to argue. You're going to have your upsets. And sometimes you're really not going to like them. Mm-hmm. But if you can make it through that hurdle, it's like a roller coaster. It's like a roller coaster. You know, when you're going up, it's nerve-wracking, it's anxious, it's like all that dredge, but then you drop. And it's the most exhilarating part of life. And what she had said to him, and you can probably rephrase it for me, but what I took away from it was she had said, when you hang in there, you actually fall back in love with that person, but you fall deeper.
Yes.
Every single time you fall deeper. And that was such a new concept to me. Like, I can be in love with somebody, make it through a hard time, and then fall even deeper. And like, what? Yeah. Did I phrase that right?
You did. She talked about going up that first hill on the roller coaster and how it's chugging and chugging and chugging, and how all these things are happening and you feel like you can't wait, you can't hold on, but then you hit the crest and you start coming down and you fall deeper in love than you ever have, as long as you accept it, as long as you move there, and you're going to fall more in love. And what she really went on to say is this builds a friendship that is beyond everything else, because you have somebody that you have gone through life with, somebody that you have gone through the ups and downs and the hurdles with, and you've made it out the other side. How much of the time do you actually feel alone, even in a relationship? How much of the time when somebody starts telling you about the needs that they have and you might not be fulfilling them adequately for them, but then you fall back in love? Have you given yourself the chance to fall back in love with them, to see where you're at, and to know that there is somebody that you can go through life with? You can go through the hurdles of the ups and downs, and you're going through centuries. And you know what? This person will actually know you more than you know yourself. They will know your idiosyncrasies. They will know more about you than what you actually admit to yourself. And this is where it becomes so strong and so passionate. And this is where really falling in love, it's not about you. It is actually about them. You want to see them stride. You want to see them live. You want to see them achieve everything that you want for them to have that they want. I recently, well, not recently, probably about a year and a half ago, I was listening to a counselor talk about love and relationships, and he had these two people come in, and the one individual was saying, I give 110% to this relationship every day. And the other person said, you know what, I give 70. He goes, I listen to the person that says that they give 70 because they've identified they can't give enough, but they're always striding to give more. How are you striding to give more to your relationship? How are you looking to really be with this person?
Katrina says, I recently wrote down a quote about how to deal with any issues. The issue is not about what happened to me. It's about who was I when it happened, and who do I have to be to change the situation. That's how I now approach my relationship. That's wonderful, Katrina. And you know, in Tantra, we teach that it all begins with the self. And when you truly are in love with yourself, you have no other avenue but to be in love with life and to be in love with everyone around you. When I do my tantric daily practices and my self-care practices with Tantra, I come out in this love zone and just feeling so much in love with myself and with the world. And then of course with my partner, it's like renewed vigor and renewed interest, because it's the love is there. But the kind of love that people are looking for is almost a superficial love. It goes off of feelings. And I'm going to say something that is a little bit personal, but we're not going to go too personal. I know Rob's like, wait, what? And it's a little bit personal,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's going to be helpful. And
Okay. How's your night going to go after this?
it's going to go great because I'm with you.
Good answer. Not sure I'm buying it, though.
So when Rob and I got together, like I said, we had the friendship that turned into a relationship. And a lot of times for me, that's never worked out because, you know, you have that friend vibe, you're in that friend box. So it's hard to feel something romantic for the other person. But I felt romance for him and he felt romance for me, and that was fine. But one of the things we noticed is that with other lovers, if you will, there was like this chemical attraction and this like desire and all that kind of stuff.
Keep going. Keep going. Mm-hmm.
And
Chris, you got my back. Roger, you got my back. I'm right here. Keep going.
And with us, it wasn't that way. And I got concerned about it because I said, oh my gosh, like we both have identified with other partners because we were friends, remember, before we dated. So I knew how his ex made him feel. He knew how my ex made me feel, but we didn't have that with each other. And I said, oh my gosh, Rob, like, are we not in this kind of, and you know what he said? And this was straight channeled from spirit because Rob can come up with this answer, I'm just saying. But he said,
come on, Chris, Roger, help me out.
He said to me, well, what if all the other relationships were just human relationships and this is a spiritual love? This is a spirit relationship. And that changed my mind completely because we are programmed to think, oh, when I get sweaty hands and fast heartbeats and tingling in the skin, like this is it. This is true love. Mm-hmm. But science has taught us that's chemistry. Mm-hmm. That's attraction. And as those of you who've been in long-term relationships know, attraction can last but so long. Then the companionship comes in and the friendship and the, you know, this deeper kind of love that I'm now learning being in now, what in general will be a 4-year relationship. I'm now learning this deeper kind of love. So, you know, sometimes when you want to leave a relationship and you're thinking because you're not getting those feelings anymore, maybe that's a good thing. But we've been conditioned to think it's a bad thing. It's just something to think about, right? Raju says, how do you recharge from a heartbreak so that you allow healing rather than slip into destructive habits? Raju and Chris said, got you, man. And Raju said, LOL.
Awesome. Well, I want to go into that. How do you recover? You take time and you have compassion for yourself. You actually have to go into your feelings. I've got a new saying when I'm working with my clients. You know, I live on a lake and we're right there. I'm like, okay, we've got to make it to the other side. And they're like, okay, we'll walk around. I'm like, no, you've got to go through it. If you don't go through your emotions, you're not going to understand them. They're going to come back in the next relationship, and the one after that.
Yeah.
We have to take our time to go into ourselves to know what it is that really is bothering us, what it is that didn't work for us. So much of the time, we feel rejection when the relationship ends. It's natural. And we actually don't even feel the feelings of, hey, this wasn't working for me. This person just said, I'm better off without you, but we don't actually think about the fact that I was already having these feelings. I was already thinking that it was time to move on, but because they dropped the shoe on me first, I don't feel worthy. I don't feel lovable. I don't feel these feelings, but we have to go into ourselves to understand what makes us whole, and once we can make ourselves whole, then what can we do for somebody else?
And Raju, there's a great book that I tend to read over and over again whenever I went through breakups. It's written by Pema Chodron. Does anybody know Pema? She's a Buddhist nun, Buddhist monk, I guess. And she wrote a book called When Things Fall Apart. Life-changing book. Life-changing book. When Things Fall Apart by Pema, P-E-M-A, Chodron, C-H-O-D-R-O-N, Pema Chodron. One of the things she talked about was lean into your pain. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, hell no, Pema. I did. I was like, oh, hell no, Pema. I'm not leaning into this pain. I don't want this breakup. What is wrong with you? That's why you're a Buddhist nun. Nobody wants you. Like, this is where my mind went. I was like, look, you got to be kidding me right about today, Pema. But she talked about when you have that like attack of that pain and that hurt, exactly what Rob said. She said, go into it. So I remember when I had gone through my breakup before Rob, and it was fresh. It was in October 2014, and it was still fresh. And I was doing pretty good, but there was this one day I was sitting in my room, and I just got this like overwhelming, and you guys know this when you've gone through a breakup, this overwhelming sense of loss and pain and heartache. And usually what do? We try to ignore it. We try to do something else, but go through it. But I did what Pema said. I went into the pain. I sat there. And let me tell you something, guys. It hurt. It physically hurt my body. And then she would say, identify where. Where is it hurting? And I would be crying like an idiot in my room. Pema, it hurts. It hurts my arm, my right arm. It hurts my chest. It hurts my throat. And I was complaining like a little baby. I was just sitting there complaining about all this hurt. But then after, and I was timing myself because she said, time yourself. And after 2 minutes, it was gone. Completely gone. And I was like, Pema's right. Because she talked about it doesn't last forever, but because we refuse to go into it, we keep running from it, we keep hiding from it, we think it's something that's going to last forever, but it doesn't. And I actually sat there and timed it, and she was right. It only lasted 2 minutes. So, Raju, it's like one of the things when I do relationship coaching, I tell people, if you're ready to get into a relationship, you're also telling me you're ready for a breakup. And you're like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm getting in a relationship to stay in a relationship. And I said, but you do understand the odds of that happening is like 10%. That you will actually get in a relationship and stay in a relationship, that's like 10%, you know? So are you okay getting in a relationship to break up? And if you're not okay getting in a relationship to break up, then don't date. Don't date. I've had friends tell me, this is why I don't date anymore. I can't deal with that stuff. And that's being honest. You know, that's being honest.
And understand that while you're in the relationship, this is all about self-illumination. It's really, how can I actually be within myself and actually help somebody be within their self? I'm brought back to a story of somebody that we know that said, hey, the relationships aren't working for me, so they went celibate for God knows how many years. And then they went back into the relationship pool, and you know what? All those same things that they said that they were evolved, they said that they had done all this good self-work, they weren't in the line of fire.
Well, that's what she, we have a mutual friend, and she had told me that she was celibate and she's healed herself of all her relationship pain. And I said, no, you haven't. And she said, what do you mean? Yes, I have. I said, you've healed yourself because you're by yourself. The minute you get into a relationship, all your old behaviors are going to come back, because the only way you can heal yourself of relationship issues is to be in relationship. It's like a man who goes to a cave and say, I've healed myself of all, you know, anger, frustration, irritation, resentment. And then the minute he comes back to the village, the cars are honking, the donkey's braying, the people are yelling, and then he's right back there. And that's what Rob's talking about. She did get into a relationship, and the very first relationship, she's texting me 11 o'clock at night and saying, oh my God, he didn't call me today and I'm freaking out. Where's my peace? Where's my Zen? And I'm like, I told you, you're not healed. Running from your problems don't heal you. You got to go into it and you got to face it.
Got to go through the lake. Otherwise, it's going to come back up.
I'm getting a hit that for some of you, you want to ask questions, but you probably don't want to do it in a public forum. So if you want to write me on Facebook on a private chat, just write me your questions and I will share the questions, just not your name. Okay. So for those of you that really want to ask some personal questions, but I have my phone with me so I can check it. And
those that want to text me and ask me those, please send them to Uma, because I don't have my phone with me, nor do I have my glasses on. I can't see anything.
That's Rob for you. What else can we talk about concerning spiritual love and relationships?
Wow, you drew a blank.
No, I got lots to talk about. I just don't know what you guys want to talk about.
Okay.
What questions do you guys have about love and sex and relationships?
Oh, going there with big S.
I know. The last thing I see is Roger saying, interesting. Awesome. I love talking about love. One of the things I've realized very early on in life is that love makes the world go round. And you could be a successful person, the CEO of a company, money in the bank, houses around the world, but if you don't have love, it's not worth anything. So it behooves all of us to invest the time into finding that right love partner. And that's why I work so much with people concerning love and relationships, because when you find that right partner, it's like life just takes off. You know, you could have had it all before, but if you don't got that love, it don't mean nothing. And then you see people who are in love and they don't have anything and they're happy. So that's why I felt it was a need to talk about love and relationships. Rob and I, like I said, get a lot of questions because we're in a relationship. We both are spiritual healers and teachers, and people want to know, how do we make this work? How do we deal with? And if you guys want to ask questions about our relationship, go ahead, ask us. We have nothing to hide. You know, we're here to help. We are teachers. We're always teaching. So we're here to help with any questions you guys might have. Raju says, this chat was great. I have to head out. Thank you for your words, as always, guys. Thank you, Raju, for joining us. Raju. And Chris says, resources on the tantric stuff would be cool for later. So there's lots of information out there about Tantra. Osho had a lot of good stuff, but Osho also kind of went awry, if you will, because he brought orgies into it and made it a little bit more sexual. Tantra is not about sex. First of all, guys, it's not about sex. Tantra is about being in the moment, is the best way I can describe it to you. The best way, when I used to teach tantric workshops, the best way I would describe it is I would bring peers to the workshop. And then I would have people get blindfolded and bite into a pear. Now, I chose a pear because it has a grainy consistency, a texture when you bite into a pear, and then it's juicy. And then I would say, eat this pear without the need to clean yourself or wipe at your lips, whatever. And I want you to feel everything. So imagine that you are blindfolded and you're biting into a pear, and it's the juices are dripping down your lips and dripping down your chin. And you can smell that pear. And you can taste the graininess of that pear. And you can feel that pear as you eat or against your lips or on your tongue. That's Tantra. Tantra teaches us how to be in the moment. And the most significant, sensual, intimate relationships are with people who are in the moment. Okay? And that's where you start with Tantra. So clearly, if you want to have tantric relationships, tantric sex with your partner, you first have to learn how to be in the moment. That means if you're watching TV, you're watching TV. You're not on your phone or your computer or talking to your kid or eating your dinner. You're just watching TV. If you're watching a sunset, you're not making a video, you're not chatting or talking to people, you're watching the sunset. So when you start to do things like that, you build what we say the Tantra in your life. You build this beingness in your life so that when it comes time to the bedroom, it's easy to be there. And I mean, let's be clear, sex psychologists have said sex is more a mental thing for men than it is for women. Men have to mentally be there to have apparatuses work, if you will. And so men have a better chance of being tantric than women do, because a lot of times women can tune out and think about the shopping list or the laundry or whatever else. So when I work with women for Tantra, it's about allowing them to be in that moment and to feel and see and express and know everything on a deeper level.
One of the things that all my clients have heard me talk about Zig Ziglar. And Zig Ziglar says, you know, everything with him was built upon sale and really motivational. And he said the problem with a good salesperson is really when they're out selling, they're at home. When they're at home, they're thinking about how they should sell. And the fact is that they're never present. If they just learn to actually be there. My very first martial arts master gave me this great book when I was a little kid, and it was very hard to read. But one of the stories, and this was more about Zen, being in the Zen, which is being in the now and being present, which is also tantric. But he brought up in this book this woman from Texas who was down there, and she was part of a military family, and it was right after the dishwasher came out, and she would cuss when she would do the dishes. And a turn of events happened, and she ended up going over to Asia. And 4 or 5 months later, her best friend flew over to see her. And she's sitting there doing the dishes, and she's humming, and she's smiling. And her friend looks at her and says, I don't understand what happened. She goes, you're in this very tiny apartment. There's no window in front of you. In your house in Texas, you looked out, and you had a dishwasher, and you would cuss about doing the dishes. What has changed? She said, oh, when I do the dishes now, I've learned to do the dishes. I've learned to just be there and take pride in the cleaning of the dishes, knowing how beautiful it is. And one of the things that I find within my coaching and my counseling with men and women is what Uma was talking about mental for men. Men are taught, I'm not sure if you women have heard this or not, but we're taught when we're kids, well, not kids, but when we're younger, think about anything else other than having sex. Think about baseball. Think about whatever it is, because otherwise you will not sustain. As we get older, we're taught, you know what, you need to think about what you're doing, otherwise you will not sustain. And a lot of times this will actually come in to play within the relationship between a man and a female, because of the fact that the men are trying to learn how to think about what they're doing as they get older. The women are saying, why are you not so attracted to me? And why are things not working? Well, honestly, God has a sense of humor, and I won't go into that live here. But the fact is that we're all getting older, we're all maturing, and we all have biological and physiological things that happen as we get older. And when you're actually in that relationship with somebody and you share it, you will actually be able to learn more about yourself, and the intimacy will grow. You're up.
I've just been checking to see if anybody else was joining in. Okay, so we have like 8 minutes left. So any questions would be welcome from you guys. This was a really good talk. I think it went really well.
I think it went well.
Any questions coming up, guys, on love and relationships? Chris says, thank you, Rob.
Oh, you're welcome, bud.
We're gonna be doing more stuff on love and relationships. It's my dream to bring back Tantra workshops. I used to do a bunch of them back in the day, and it's my dream to bring them back.
Can I do a selfless plug?
Yes.
Okay. For everybody out there, I've got a gentleman traveling in from out of state. I believe we've moved it to December.
Yeah.
And he's actually on the yogic tantric path.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a weekend where the first is actually going to be about male and female and about the yogic tantric. The Sunday will actually be followed up, and it's going to be only for men, and it's going to be going into Tantra for men and learning more about it.
Yeah, my goal is to have like a tantric workshop over a weekend, like a Saturday and Sunday, for couples and for singles. And we would do a bunch of different exercises, you know, clothing optional, of course, when you're going into tantric stuff, and really just allowing us to experience what it's like to be in the moment. Mm-hmm. And in the beingness and the presence. So it's not an orgy, like, don't get your hopes up. Some of you are like, ooh, you know. No, it's not that. It's about allowing yourselves to feel. Mm-hmm. And to be in that moment, so that when you go home to your significant others, you can have a good time.
And if you're naked, you better not be alone. Okay, otherwise when you go home, it's going to be completely different.
Don't be that creeper that shows up naked. And then it's like, yeah, don't be that person. All right, do you guys have any more questions for us? don't know. Everybody's like kind of quiet.
It's a quiet group. We've left them speechless.
I would like to think that.
Yes, I'm going to go with that. If anybody confirmed that we left you speechless, that would be great.
All right. Well, I'm going to take this last 5 minutes to talk to those of you that are in relationships about how to bring more intimacy into your relationships. Number one.
Order pizza.
That's Rob's way. And luckily for him, I love pizza, so it actually works out. Number one is to learn the love language of your partner. Learn the love language of your partner. Katrina says, nothing to say after that. Melissa says, good stuff, awesome. You have to learn the love language of your partner. Rob's love language is words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. He loves it when I say nice things to him. My love language is spending quality time together, touch, and gifts. I love gifts. So when we first got together,
Tell them the story.
With the plant?
Yeah. I love this story.
It was awkward, first of all, before I get into the story. It was awkward when we first got together because in the beginning, I would give Rob a lot of gifts. That's my love language. That's what I like to get. And Rob was not so much in the gift-giving department, but he was very complimentary and complimenting about my hair, my smile, what I wore, how good a person and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, it wasn't
I don't need that.
Yeah, it was.
I need gifts. Come on.
I want gifts. I want quality time. I want touch. So in the beginning, Melissa's like, wine. Yes, I want wine. I do, and
I bought her the box.
No, he did not. And we just did not connect because it was just always frustrating. We got together January 2015, and then of course February is Valentine's Day, which was a little bit awkward because we just got together and now there's Valentine's. So we had this heart-to-heart conversation. It's like, do we see each other? Do we go on a date? Do we give a handshake? Like, what do we do? And Rob was really sweet. He said, well, let's not make too much of a big deal about it. We just got together. So why don't I come to your house and I make you a nice dinner? And I'm like, oh, that's nice. That's a perfect, feels like a perfect thing. So he came to my house. And of course I bought him a ton of gifts because I'm a gift giver. Mm-hmm. And then he brought the food to make. And he brought me a card and he brought me a plant. And I was shocked because I was like, a plant? What the hell? Where's the flowers? Where's the candy? Where's the teddy bear?
It had bloomed.
And it was a plant. And I kind of got a little bit of an attitude about it. And then later on, weeks later, I finally came out and yelled at him, like, why the hell did you get me a damn plant? And he looked at me straight on with the Rob look. And those of you who are his clients, you know the Rob look. And he says to me, flowers die, plants live on forever if you nurture them. And I got it immediately. This man has depth, right? He has depth. And I was like, wow. So one thing you want to do.
Nobody had bought her a plant before.
Never got a plant. I can honestly say that. So what I'm going to say is learn your partner's love language. Katrina says, yeah, my boyfriend always gives gifts and he never wants anything from me. What's up with that? Katrina, I would say ask him, show him, because there's the book, there's the quiz, and then you can do the online quiz and just say, for the sake of our relationship, you need to take this damn quiz. Okay, you need to take this quiz right now and have him take the quiz and then find out what his love language is. He might be trained to give women gifts. His family might have trained him, this is what you do to make your woman happy. You give them gifts, but it may not be his love language. And that's why he doesn't want to receive anything, because they don't do anything for him. My ex-husband, his love language was acts of service. So he never really bought me anything, but he would put air in my tires. He would clean the house. He would do things. And I'm like, oh, okay. It didn't really faze me because it wasn't my love language. So number one, Chris says, go Rob. So number one, to invite more intimacy into your life is to find out your partner's love language and really act upon it. So for me, I've never been one with words in terms of affirmating words and complimenting words, but because of Rob, I've learned how to call him and say, babe, that's a great job you did, or that's a wonderful thing you did, and whatever, because I know how important it is to him. It's literally like him getting a diamond bracelet. He loves that.
Absolutely.
So that's number one, how to increase more intimacy. Number two, you have to take vacations. You guys see me and Rob traveling all the time. There's a reason for that. when you're caught up in life, the children, the dog, the work, the household, the whatever else that we have to deal with here, you lose sight of each other. And then they just become like your arm. It's just another part of you. And you take them for granted. And Rob and I are very good about scheduling our time away from life to be with each other together. And when you're on the road and you're in a hotel and you're like in a new area, and this is another thing too, because sometimes I say to people, go on vacation, they're like, oh, we go every year. Well, that's not really a vacation. That's now part of your lifestyle. If you're going to Myrtle Beach every year, that's not a vacation. That's your thing that you do. You got to go to new places. One of our most romantic trips this year was, to me, in my opinion, the UK. Mm-hmm. It was an adventure. We got lost on the damn bus. Remember, mm-hmm. we were tripping through all of London in a snowstorm. They never.
Yeah, and weren't you like born there?
Yeah.
Didn't you think you should know? Well, maybe you were too little, but anyhow.
We were like lost. It was freezing. The heater in our room went out. We had to have 3 heaters in the room because they had the worst snowstorm in history. So technically, it was the worst trip ever. We had so much fun. We went to Stonehenge. We couldn't go to Stonehenge. We got turned away. The weather was too bad. But that's the kind of stuff that brings couples together. We went through
Windsor Castle by ourselves.
We did. That was pretty cool.
Always be looking to make lemonade.
Out of the lemons, yeah.
So much of the time, our focus is on, in NLP, we actually have a statement that disappointment takes years of preparation. What are you putting into this that you want out? Just be in the moment. And that goes back to the whole tantric thing. If you're sitting there, I'll never forget walking out, and I know we're almost out of time, and I was in my basement, and my daughter was out there, and they were all around 12 years old, and they were giggling and laughing. They were giggling and laughing, and they were waving their hand and saying, bye-bye, bye-bye, and laughing. I'm like, what's up with this? And they started laughing, and they said, oh, we're practicing saying goodbye to guys. And I'm like, okay, this is the problem right here. We're out learning how to slay dragons. You're learning how to say goodbye to us. And then it went on to they were talking about their wedding and about all the things that they wanted. They were building themselves up, their expectations. If it was beautiful because one rose wasn't there, they might not see it. Be in the moment. Be true to that time. Learn to actually say, here's what I want. And even in karma, it says when we give, we can't look for retribution from that person. We need to look for where it's coming from. So learn to do 360 degrees, to look at where everything's coming from, and learn to accept and enjoy and be in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And my last comment on how to invite more intimacy into your life is concerning the physical part, of course, of intimacy. You got to switch it up. You got to keep it new. You got to keep it fresh. And for those of you that have been married 10, 15, 20 years, it gets harder, but not if you continuously change it up. And that can literally just mean changing positions, changing where you have your intimate moments, not just always the bedroom, always missionary, like you change it up. Maybe going out to a strip club, dare I say it, or what's those shows where it's like cabaret show to get like a little excited, watching some, you know what I'm talking about, together. It's like, it's about just trying different things and bringing in the excitement again. It's work, guys. It's work. And those of us that are in the long-term relationships, and if you stay there and you treat your partner like they're an arm of you or a leg of you, you're going to lose your appreciation for the beautiful person that you have in front of you. And there's a lot of people that, I'm going to say it, that want him, okay? And probably want me too. I don't know. But there's a lot of people that want him, but I don't necessarily think
I'm a handful.
They don't want him. They want what they think he is, because I adore him. Do you understand? I adore him. And he always says to me, when I'm in a relationship, all the women want me. When I'm single, nobody wants me. And that's a true statement, because when you look at your partner and you adore them and you crave them and you desire them, people feel that energy around. They feel that energy, and they're like, I want what she's having. When Harry met Sally, right? I want what she's having. And that's how you get to know, like, okay, I have to say, because I'm getting from spirit, that sometimes that happens to people, and then they feel like, oh, I should leave my marriage, or I should leave my my relationship because these people want me, but they don't really want you. They want their idea of you, and they want what you and your person have. Does that make sense? So those are 3 tips from me to increase intimacy. Learn the love language of your person, right? Take constant vacations with them, and not with the kids. That's not a romantic vacation. Take constant vacations with them, and then also switch it up in terms of the physical intimacy part of the relationship. Do different things. Be exciting. Be adventurous. You know, do things that you wouldn't normally think to do. Either you're going to like it or you're going to hate it, but you're going to try it at least. Yeah.
And I want to say, build the moment. It's not just about being in the moment. It's about building it. It's about making it a whole night, making it a week, making it where you're actually in that moment, where, you know, you've put the phones down, you've put the computer down, everything is turned off, and you're with each other so that you can be with each other and understand that true intimacy, it's about you, but it's about you delivering for somebody else for them to deliver back to you. It's about putting yourself first and second. It's about actually understanding and knowing who you are, what you want, and how is the best way for me to get this other person to deliver to me what it is that I want and need while I meet their needs. And so much of the time, we're needy. There we go. Needy. That doesn't work. It's about really being true to yourself, but being in the presence of the relationship and knowing, hey, let's move it up to here instead of keeping it down.
Beautifully said. All right, guys, we've come to the end of our Facebook Live video. Thank you guys so much for joining us and supporting us. We really are honored and touched by your awesomeness and showing up. If you would like topics for Rob and I to talk about, we haven't decided on a topic yet for November, so just hit me up by email, by text, by Facebook chat, and let me know what topics you'd like us to cover.
And if not, I'll be talking about my perfect turkey recipe.
Maybe we should do something about gratitude, for sure. Living a life of gratitude.
I am so happy when that turkey comes out perfect.
He really is. He loves to cook. Bye, Katrina. Have a good night.
Katrina.
Bye, everybody. Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next month.